In our last video, we went and set up these panels for our manga, and we went to our layers and we named everything in our layers. We actually added a background layer, but we didn't put anything in there. And in this video, we're going to learn how to place images inside of InDesign. Now, a lot of people are sure to say, well, I know how to place images inside of things. I just copy and paste it, or I just drag it in there. Well, that's not really how you do it with InDesign. InDesign has several ways that you can place things in. And that's the whole reason why we set up all of these placeholders here, so we can kind of see our outline, see how things will flow, and then later we can place the images in there. So let's look at how I'm going to do this. The first thing I'm going to do is go here to my selection tool. And if you have anything selected, what you want to do is select away from all of that so nothing is selected. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in a second. But I do have some images that I want to place. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can go to File, and then you go here to Place, or you can hit Control D. When I do that, it's going to open up my File Explorer, and I got these panels here, and some of them are full images. So let's just say I was going to grab this image here. I click Open, and now you'll see my mouse. If you look closely at my mouse, it has dotted lines at a 90-degree angle. Those dotted lines mean if I were to click now, what it will do is it will place my image and place it in a frame of its own at the size of the image. So if I hit place now, as you can see, it placed the image at the size of the original image. But let's say I didn't want the image at that size. I wanted it a particular size. So instead of going and trying to shift this around and do all of that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to go to place again. I'm going to choose that same image. And now, if I were to drag it, it'll size the image to the size that I dragged it, and it'll also put it inside of a placeholder. And as you can see here, we have that image there inside that placeholder. Another way you can place things, I'm going to put that image down here, let's say. Actually, I'll put it here. So I select where I want the image to be placed. Then I go hit Control D, and on the Mac is Option D. And then I select my image. I hit Open. It'll open directly into that object. If I were to select the image inside of that object, I can then change the size of the image directly inside of that object. And as you can see, it creates a mask inside of that object. So that's another way we can place things. And the final way that I'm going to show you how to place things is similar to what we did initially. Hit Control D. I'm going to choose another image. Choose this one. I'm going to open this up. Now, remember before, when I did this, it has that 90-degree angle, those dotted lines in a 90-degree angle. It means if I were to select it here, it will create a placeholder for me and drop that image there. Or I can drag the size that I want. Another thing that you'll notice, if I were to drag my mouse over one of these objects, the cursor changes. And now, if I were to click, it'll place it inside the object that I had the cursor over. So that's a really nifty way of placing it, because I don't have to really worry about having it selected in the beginning. I can just use it later. So I hit Control Z to go right back to my place function, and I'm just going to place that one there. But let's say I didn't want to place one image here, one image there, one image here, one image here, so on and so forth. And plus this one, I'm going to want this one to go from one image to the next image possibly. It all depends. But I don't want to have to do one at a time. I want to select all my images and then place them as I selected them. Well, we can also do that. If I hit Control D, I can then go here and I'm going to select multiple images. I'm going to select this image, and I'm holding down the Control key as I select the images in the order in which I want them. And if I hit Open, you'll notice now my arrow has a number to it. It's telling me how many numbers I currently have selected. that's currently in my place object. So if I were to click there, that image goes there, that image goes there, 2, and then 1. And so you can see how much easier that is as opposed to doing them one at a time. I can leave these images here and change those images simply by doing the same thing over again. I'll choose this one, this one. I'm going to go open. And I have 4 images in the queue right now. So I'm going to just hit the escape key. And as you can see, it's changing in relation to the order in which I selected my images. So let's say I go Control D, and then I want to add it into a frame that already has an image there. Well, that's an issue because now when you look at my mouse, it doesn't change. That icon doesn't change. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'm going to have to hold Alt down on the PC. So hold Alt down, and then I can go ahead and add it in that frame. If I don't hold Alt down and I click, it's just going to add a new frame because there's already an image inside that frame. So it assumes that you just want to add a new frame. So if you want to add it in a frame that already has an image there, basically you have to hold the Alt key down and then select it. Alt and select, so on and so forth. There you go. And if you have one left and you don't want it, just hit the escape key and it'll move from there. Now, in this frame, it didn't place the image the way I wanted it to. So I'm going to double click my frame, and now I have access to the image itself. Now I can go ahead and drag that image around. And I'm going to expand this image by holding Alt Shift, and I'm going to drag it much bigger than that. Then I can click away. And there we have it. We have our comic book panels all set and ready to go. The other thing I want to be able to do is now add my background. And so I'm going to select inside of my background layer, and then I'm going to go ahead and drag myself a placeholder here, and I want this to bleed all the way through. Something like that. And you can see that that's here, and I'm going to name that page 1 background. And of course, if I had a page 2 here, it would be page 2 background here. So with that selected, I can just hit Control D, and I can go ahead and add myself an image back there. And with that image still selected with page 1 BG background, you'll notice that it has a red outline. That's how I know that anything on this layer is selected, because everything on this layer is red, and I can select that. And instead of me dragging that image out, because my image is currently selected, I'm going to go up here to the properties up here, and I'm going to put fit frame proportionally, so that way it expands to my frame. I can also change the opacity to this, so I can go up here instead of 100%. I can change the opacity to that, so where it's not so strong. So now that I have my first page set up, I have my background layer set up, I can go ahead and just duplicate this and start on my second page. So I'm just going to drag my entire layer down here to the Create New Layer button, and it's going to give me a complete duplicate of that page. So first I'm going to turn these down, and you'll notice all of these are still on the same page. It's only because just because you make a new layer called page 2 doesn't make it a new page. We have to go into the Pages panel, and we can make a page from here. So I'm going to go here and I'm put Create New Page. Now I have a new page, not just a new layer. So with page 2, I'm going to double click it, and now I'm in page 2. And we can see here in our navigation, we have page 1 and page 2. So if you notice, when I click my down arrow on any of these, while page 2 is currently selected, I don't see anything in those folders. But it's only because page 2 is selected. It's only going to show me what's in page 2. This is a great advantage as to why we have our backgrounds, and we can have all our backgrounds on one layer, and it'll only show the backgrounds on the current page that's selected, which is pretty cool. So if I go to page 1, you'll notice now I get everything in there. But what I want is everything from page 2 to go into my page 2 layer to go into my page 2 object, or my page 2, instead of it being in page 1. But I got to make sure when I select my page 2 layer that everything is selected. Right now everything is not selected. So I'm going to select the first item there and then shift select the last item. Nope. Let's see. There we go. So now I have everything selected. Now I'm going to hit Control C, and then I'm going to go to page 2, and then I'm going to hit Control V. I'm just pasting it all into this page. That way, now I have my page 1 and I have my page 2, but I don't need this page 2 inside of here anymore. So I'm going to select these items. So the way I do that is I select the first one, I hold shift down and select the last one, and then I right click and select items, and then I can hit delete. So I deleted all of those from page 1. But you'll notice I still have it in page 2. And when I go to page 1, I have all of these in page 1. And the reason why we don't see them because I have the eye off on page 1. So we were able to navigate through our layers and our pages. First, we created both page layers inside the layers panel. And then we wanted to change what was inside of this layers panel into page 2. So what we did was we simply copied it from here, opened up page 2, and pasted it on page 2, directly on page 2. So now if you see, when I put my page 1 down, I don't see anything in page 1 because I'm currently in page 2. So if I double click page 1, now I can see all my page 1 stuff, including the background. And if I were to click page 2, I don't see anything down there. But if I were to activate page 2, now I get all the panels in page 2. So that's how we navigate our layers and our pages. And you just got to keep track of what page you're on and what exists on those pages. So this is why a lot of times I always, well, almost every time, I like to take my layers and separate them by pages if I'm doing a comic, and backgrounds. So hopefully this was helpful. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below.